The doors slam shut. Bronze against stone. The sound echoes forever. A soul stands trembling in the darkness. No heartbeat, no breath, just memory. Before him, 3 thrones. 3 judges sit in silence. One was a king who betrayed his own family. One was a tyrant who ruled through fear. And the third, the most terrifying of all, because he never made mistakes. Behind them stands a god who almost never speaks. Black robes, crown of shadow, Hades. The ruler of the dead doesn't torture souls. He doesn't scream. He doesn't rage. He judges. One decision. That's all it takes. And suddenly the ground opens. Some fall into endless darkness. Some wander forever in gray fog, and a rare few walk into paradise. 3 paths: Tartarus, Asphodel, Elysium. But here's the terrifying mystery. Ancient Greeks believed something disturbing. Hades didn't decide your fate alone. 3 dead kings did. Men who were once just as flawed, just as corrupt, just as human as the souls they judged. So the question becomes unavoidable. What kind of man decides who deserves eternal punishment and who deserves heaven? To understand that, we have to walk into the courtroom of the dead.
Unveil the legends.
Death was never the end in ancient Greece. It was a journey, and the road began with a river. Black water, silent currents. A skeletal ferryman waited in the mist. Double quotes. Karen. Double quotes. He didn't care who you were. King, soldier, child, murderer, everyone paid the same toll. 1 coin placed beneath the tongue. Without it, you waited on the river bank for 100 years. But crossing the river wasn't the worst part, because on the other side, something waited. Not chaos, not torture, a trial. 3 judges ruled the court of the dead. First came Aeacus, once a mortal king, famous for his harsh sense of justice. Even the gods trusted his judgment. Then came Rhadamanthus, cold, ruthless, a man who believed punishment should always be absolute. But the most feared judge was Minos, a king who once demanded absolute obedience from his people, a man who made impossible laws and destroyed anyone who broke them. Now imagine something disturbing: 3 dead kings judging billions of souls forever, and waiting behind them, the silent god who owned the kingdom, Hades. The court was ready. Now, the trials could begin. Every soul stood alone, no lawyer, number, defense, just memory. The judges didn't need witnesses. They could see everything: the lies, the betrayals, the quiet moments no one else ever saw. A greedy merchant once stood before them. During life he looked respectable, a loving father, a respected citizen. But the judges saw the truth: starving workers, broken promises, gold earned through suffering. Minos leaned forward. 1 Tartarus, Tartarus. The ground shattered. The soul fell screaming into the tomb abyss. Tartarus wasn't just punishment, it was cosmic revenge. The worst monsters in myth lived there. Sisyphus, pushing a stone forever. Tantalus, starving beside unreachable food. Ixion, spinning endlessly on a wheel of fire. But not everyone fell. Some souls walked a different path. Most, in fact, ordinary people. Not heroes, not villains, just average. Their destination? The Asphodel Meadows, a gray field stretching beyond the horizon. No pain, but no joy either. Memories, faded slowly, names forgotten, dreams dissolving like mist, an eternity of quiet nothing. But then, something rare happened. A warrior once stood before the judges. He had fought bravely, protected the weak, refused riches offered by corrupt kings, the judges whispered. Even Rhadamanthus nodded. Minos raised his staff. One word, Elysium, and the gates of paradise opened golden fields. Music in the wind, heroes walking beneath eternal sunlight. But here's the chilling truth. Very few ever reached it. Most souls faded in Asphodel, and the wicked screamed in Tartarus forever. Yet there's something darker hidden in this system, something the myths rarely admit. Because the judges weren't saints, they were kings. And kings are rarely innocent. Take Minos. During life he demanded total obedience. He created brutal laws, and when his own family disobeyed him, he punished them mercilessly. Even the Minotaur existed because of his arrogance. So why would a man like that judge morality? Some historians think the Greek underworld wasn't about justice. It was about fear, a warning system, a cosmic courtroom designed to control the living. Think about it. If people believe, their secrets will be exposed after death. They behave. If tyrants believe eternal torture waits for them, they hesitate. The underworld wasn't just religion. It was psychological warfare. But there's another darker possibility. What if the judges themselves were still learning? Imagine ruling over billions of souls forever. Would you remain fair? Or would power slowly corrupt even the dead? The myths never answer that question, but they hint at something strange. Because sometimes Hades overruled the judges, not often, but enough to remind them who truly ruled the darkness. Here's the irony that makes this myth so haunting. Hades wasn't the villain, not really. Unlike other gods, he rarely interfered in mortal lives. He didn't start wars. He didn't seduce mortals. He didn't destroy cities out of jealousy. He simply ruled the dead quietly, fairly, and that terrified people more than anything, because the system of the underworld exposed a brutal truth about life. Not everyone becomes a hero. Not everyone becomes a monster. Most people become forgotten. The Asphodel Meadows were the real fate of humanity, not torture, not glory, just fading memory. And that's why ancient Greeks feared mediocrity more than death, because the worst punishment wasn't Tartarus. It was being forgotten forever. And the Greeks understood something uncomfortable about that fate. A life without courage, without sacrifice, without risk leaves no echo. Heroes reached Elysium not because they were perfect, but because they dared to matter. They chose action over comfort, struggle over silence. In the mythology of the Greeks, greatness wasn't luck. It was defiance against fading into the gray fields of eternity. So the Greek afterlife revealed something deeply human. Evil earns punishment. Greatness earns paradise. But ordinary lives disappear, and maybe that's the real trial, not the judgment after death, but the question asked before it. What kind of life leaves a mark strong enough to escape oblivion? But the underworld hides even darker secrets, because somewhere far below Tartarus, chained in darkness, lies a being even the gods feared, a monster so dangerous that Zeus himself helped imprison it, and according to some myths, its prison is starting to crack. The creature's name? Typhon, and his story is far more terrifying than anything the judges of the dead ever faced. But that is a mystery for the next video.